You ever wonder why, after all this time, the full story of Jeffrey Epstein still feels like it's locked away somewhere? Well, today we're going to dive into the arguments from our source material that suggest this isn't an accident, that there's a deliberate, ongoing cover up. We're going to look at the evidence that's gone missing, the powerful motives behind it all, and the playbook allegedly being used to keep the truth from ever coming out.
So let's start with the one big idea at the center of this entire analysis. What if the most important parts of the Epstein saga aren't just unknown, but are being actively hidden? Our source material makes the case that this isn't about lost files or just forgotten details. Nope, this is about a deliberate suppression of the truth. And this quote right here, it really gets to the heart of it. The argument is that the cover-up isn't just about protecting powerful people from, the horrific sex crimes. It's about protecting a massive system of financial crime. According to this analysis, the real secret, it's always about the money.
Okay, so what exactly is being hidden? Because we're not just talking about vague rumors here. The source points to specific, very real evidence that has either vanished into thin air or has been intentionally kept from the public. Just think about what's on this list for a second. The infamous Black Book, who was really in it? Then you have the binders of CDs and hard drives from the raid. What in the world is on them? The financial records could literally follow the money. And Epstein's role as a federal informant? What did he know and who was he giving information to? Every single one of these is a giant piece of the puzzle that's just gone. And it's not just about what's missing. It's also about how the investigation itself was handled. I mean, look at this. The New York townhouse gets this huge, high-profile raid, but Zorro Ranch in New Mexico, this massive property with its own dark stories, was apparently never searched. Why the inconsistency? That's a question our source points to as a major, major red flag. And this is where it gets really weird. Officials find discs in a safe, literally labeled in a way that just screams blackmail material. But the story about what's on them keeps changing. First, it was described one way. Then, the story shifted. Our source argues that this kind of changing narrative, well, that's a classic sign that someone is trying to hide something. So you see all this missing evidence, and you have to ask yourself, why? What's the real motive here? Well, according to the source, the real secret isn't what you think it is. It's about the money. The entire operation was allegedly built on a foundation of massive financial crime. The argument here is that Epstein's main business wasn't actually trafficking. He was the money guy. He was supposedly handling everything from money laundering to tax evasion for a whole network of incredibly powerful people. And the blackmail? That was just the insurance policy to make sure everybody stayed quiet and played along.
And look, this isn't just some wild speculation. The source points to a very specific, huge piece of financial evidence that could blow this whole thing wide open. And it's allegedly being held back by the government.
You've got Senator Ron Wyden, who has been pushing for the release of over $1 billion in wire transfer records that the Treasury Department is apparently just sitting on. I mean, those records could be the roadmap to the entire financial network. The fact that they're still under wraps is, for the source, basically the smoking gun of a cover-up. So who's pulling the strings on this cover-up? Is it a Republican thing, a Democrat thing? Well, according to the source, the answer is yes. The argument is that this is a totally bipartisan problem, and that's precisely why it's so difficult to get to the bottom of. The thinking here is pretty straightforward. There are powerful people on both sides of the aisle who are involved. And that creates a massive incentive for everyone in Washington to just stay silent. It's not about party loyalty anymore. It's about pure self-preservation. It's basically a political version of mutually assured destruction, right? If the Democrats launch a serious investigation, the Republicans could get burned. If the Republicans do it, Democrats get exposed. So what's the result? A total stalemate, where the safest move for everyone with something to hide is to just let all those secrets stay buried. So if that's all true, how on earth do you keep a lid on a cover-up like this in the age of the internet? The source argues you don't just hide the truth, you actively go on the attack. You create a thick fog of disinformation so no one can see clearly. The source brings up this wild idea called cognitive infiltration. And the concept is pretty simple, really. If you want to discredit a group that's asking,
uncomfortable questions, you don't just argue with them from the outside. You have people join the group and you disrupt it from the inside. You introduce confusing and crazy ideas to make the entire inquiry look unreliable.
And this leads to what you could call a 3-step disinformation playbook. Step 1, take any legitimate question and immediately label it a conspiracy theory. Step 2, flood the zone with so much nonsense and garbage that nobody knows what's real anymore. And step 3, just sit back and watch as the public gets so confused and overwhelmed that they just give up looking for the truth altogether.
And that's really the whole goal, isn't it? When the water is that muddy, people stop trying to figure out what's at the bottom. They just want someone, anyone, to tell them what to think. The source argues this confusion is a deliberate strategy designed to make people just fall back on the official story and stop asking the hard questions. So where does that leave us? We're left with a story of missing evidence, powerful financial motives, a political system stuck in a stalemate, and a playbook designed to confuse us all. The source material really leaves us with one final chilling question. In an age where there's so much information, if the people in power can make the truth this hard to find, how can any of us ever figure out what's real?